black belt mindset business coach. And we're fortunate to have Helen Redman, as she is the managing director at OpenEd Ltd. So welcome, Helen.
Hiya, thank you. Nice to see you again, Raj.
Indeed. So just tell us a bit about your company and what you do and what led you to sort of starting it.
Well, the company was started because I recognised the need for adults to receive some kind of support post-education. I've worked in the FE and HE sectors for over 20 years and realised that sometimes people left standard education perhaps without all of the skills that they needed. And also there's quite a large group of adults who perhaps didn't have the full opportunities in education. Maybe they missed education for whatever reason. Perhaps they were of a certain age group where there wasn't special needs provision. And then they've come into their lives, reached a certain point in their lives and realised that actually they need some help, either to improve the skills, to start reading or writing, help with adulting and just generally getting around. So that was my premise for starting the company. And since then I've worked with a whole range of adults. It could be somebody doing their A-levels age 16, but my most recent client was a 60-year-old who'd never sent an email, didn't have any formal qualifications and was struggling to contact his energy provider and decided, actually, if I could write better, maybe I could do this. So that's it's a very broad range from learning to read and write right up to help with academic study.
Thank you for that. So why is it you think that individuals have missed out on education like that and you have to sort of step in and help and support them?
There's a whole range of reasons, and it can just be down to family circumstances where, you know, people perhaps had an expectation they had to provide caring responsibilities or go and work at a young age. Sometimes people just fall out of love with education. Mainstream education isn't necessarily for everybody and people can perhaps leave it perhaps too soon. There's a whole range of reasons. Quite often as well, adults come back to education and then don't feel quite prepared for it, especially if you've been out of learning for quite a long time. So again, it's really important to sort of think about the other skills, not just literacy, but in terms of organisation, building up some resilience in terms of the tech that's expected to be used now. I mean, you know, it's not just about being able to hold a pen, is it? There's a whole range of technology you're expected to be able to use to carry out study before you even start on the subject matter. So yeah, there's lots of barriers in place, and that's what I aim to help overcome.
Now, adults who want to reach out sometimes may find it a struggle to say that you know, they need help. And how do you sort of tackle that?
I have a huge respect for adults that do get in touch with me. If you look at my website, opened.org.uk, you'll see it's very accessible. And the first thing that comes up is the section about adults. And I'm really clear on there about the service I offer and also how much it costs. So there's no ambiguity. Secondly, my mobile number's on there. Quite often people ring me first. We have a little chat and then I offer them a 30-minute free consultation to really talk about what their expectations are, what outcomes they'd like to see. So for example, I want to email my energy provider was an outcome for my most recent client. And then we work on that basis. And we set aside just a few sessions initially just to work through those particular things and then see where we want to go next.
Brilliant. I understand you offer something called Lego therapy. Is that right? So tell me a bit about that.
Absolutely. So Lego therapy is something I'm very passionate about, given that I enjoy Lego myself as a hobby, but it can be used in a multitude of different ways. So I offer Lego therapy sessions during the school holidays to groups of children. The session's no more than 5, and it works on the basis of having shared roles and just a common outcome of creating a small build. It's quite rigid in terms of the rules of how we do that for 20 minutes. So there's no need for any extra conversation or superfluous conversation, as it were. It's quite nice and easy and straightforward. So if someone does have communication difficulties or a condition such as autism, it's really accessible for them. And then after that, that's the opportunity for free building. I've actually adapted that to different age groups. It was aimed at primary school, really, Lego therapy, but actually I've adapted the resources and the types of kits I use. So it's been used in universities, I've used it with adults, it's been used in colleges. And I also run some assembly required Lego club for adults as well.
Interesting. Children have grown up with Lego, and there's still adults spending a lot of time and money in Lego, and they can be quite expensive buying a kit, and they become collector's items. My son actually worked for Lego and designed a small tree character, a man and tree character. So he loved that, and he's still into Lego. So what is it about Lego that people are fascinated about and so interested?
It's one of those things where it's so aesthetically pleasing once it's been built. I personally enjoy following the instructions, finding the bits and pieces, the feel of putting it together and then seeing things grow layer upon layer. But what's also good about Lego is it kind of doesn't matter. If you break it, you can fix it. If you want to step away from it, it will just stay there and wait for you. There's something just very pleasing about having it around as well and creating real life things in a Lego form, and then also adapting it and adjusting them and putting your own personal flair on them. So that's what I really encourage people to do in the sessions. We have a kit. So for example, we might be working to build one of my favorites is actually a little lawnmower, a guy on a lawnmower. And then we make that kit and then create a park or a forest effect around it. So then you've got your own personal flair. You can be as creative as you like and do some free building. So it's the fact you can do either with it. You can either follow the rules or you can break all the rules. It's your choice.
Interesting, because obviously it can be creative. And sort of how does it help individuals who are neurodiverse, would you say?
I would say what it does is it helps you to really focus for quite a short amount of time. 20 minutes is a good amount of time to aim for in terms of focus. And because we've got these roles, we've got an engineer role who has to look at the instructions. Now, Lego instructions don't include any text. They are all just figures. So that's really good. You can just describe the types of blocks you can see. The supplier has to listen and find those blocks. The builder has to listen to the instructions and put them together, and then an inspector cross-references it with the instructions. Once you've done the first step, everybody swap roles. So everybody has the opportunity to do each role multiple times. And within that, once you start to observe the group, at first people are a little bit nervous. You might not be sure how to describe the blocks or how to describe what needs to happen next. I facilitate that. But then gradually you find each other, the participants support each other with that. And that's where the conversation starts. I've even seen groups make up their own language, their own terminology for the types of blocks as well, which is really good to see, because then between themselves they've created their own little environment to get the work done and to create the build.
Interesting. So it's like a team setting, almost like a team building, and communication exercise is quite important in this, and learning communication and feeding off each other.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how does it help to grow that individual or that team?
I think the majority of it is down to confidence in communicating. So the fact that it's acceptable to use your own words to describe the Lego. There's a method involved in it. There's a pace. It can be quite a slow pace that tends to speed up as people become more confident and more competent. And then once we get to the free building stage, you see people naturally interacting with others, even if they've never met them before, because together you've created something and now you're building on it. So for people who are neurodiverse, neurodivergent, the fact that there's no reading, there's no writing, it's a kinesthetic, touchy-feely thing to do, but actually really productive at the same time. You can visually see the impact that you're having, and every step is a goal achieved of the Lego build. So that in itself just gives you so much confidence and gives the group confidence in talking to each other as well.
Interesting. So you'll have some people in the group who are neurotypical and those are neurodiverse. And there must be quite a lot of learns from that when you do that. What have you found from the learns, and what companies and individuals tell you?
Absolutely. So when I've done this as team building exercises, I've adapted the Lego therapy into sort of fun team events. What you see is people being surprised at how little patience they may have, or how difficult they find it to not intervene when something's going a little bit wrong. How actually some people feel more confident in making constructive comments. So the inspector, for example, has to say whether the build's right or not. And if it's not, then you do need to think about how you're going to tell the builder that they've done it wrong and what needs to be put right. And if the communication's not going well, if people are struggling to describe, then you can open it up to the full build team and say, how can we help this person? What do we think now? But you've got to wait to be invited to do that. And that in itself, the patience, the level of concentration that's required just for that short period of time, the language that's needed and how you develop that language, how you think about what you're going to say. People do find that challenging at all levels in an organisation, especially when you've got a mix of managers and perhaps their subordinates on one build team. That's very interesting because this is a leveller. The manager isn't always the engineer in charge. So it's quite interesting to observe.
Yes, I do coaching for teams as well as sole entrepreneurs and SMEs. So this sounds like a fantastic way of getting to know your team, getting to know each other's behaviours, and to interact together. I can imagine in certain situations it can be frustrating for some teams, they don't communicate well.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is a fun way to explore that, because ultimately there's no consequences. It's just Lego, it's a toy, and we're playing around with these ideas. And in doing that, we can reflect on our behaviours and how we're working.
Yeah, you mentioned a very important word there, play. I think play and learning is vitally important, especially when you're young. And even when you're growing up, we tend to play less as adults. And we should encourage play as much as possible to stimulate those neurons. And what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely vital. If you think about perhaps some adult type hobbies, people tend to get really into health and fitness. People give themselves goals in terms of running or diet, and it tends to get a little bit serious. Whereas I think if you had a goal to build some Lego or create something at home with your family, or do it in the corporate environment and have Lego out there just for people to mess about with while they're talking or while they're thinking, just to get some inspiration, I think it really does help. It's one of those things where when you need to take a break and step away from your desk or the work environment, it just gives you that moment to do something entirely different.
That's great. I know that a lot of people play online games and things like that. Sometimes we can spend too much time on social media in front of a screen as well. There's been talk about how useful this is for mindfulness. What would you say on that front?
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the reasons why I've set up the Lego Club for adults locally, because it can be quite difficult for people to get out and about. Sometimes there's a bit of a stigma attached as well to these kinds of activities. If you're into model building, it can be quite a solitary thing that you do. So actually to then go somewhere else to be able to talk about anything to do with your life whilst building models and just sharing and playing with Lego, it's absolutely a good way to interact with other people without it being a formal setting. It's just much more fun and relaxed. Brilliant.
It sounds fascinating what you do. So what type of clients come to see you, and how do people get hold of you?
Okay, so it's a wide range of clients. I've already talked about individuals who may need some support with literacy, reading, writing, with or without a dyslexia diagnosis. But I also work with companies, so companies whereby they may be trying to support a colleague who needs some reasonable adjustments at work, perhaps struggling to navigate that. I can work in collaboration both with the colleague in terms of work coaching, but then also providing inclusion support for the employer. So that's quite a good way to do it, because you can see both sides of it. Myself, I've been a manager for years. I understand the difficulties in putting some reasonable adjustments in place, but equally the value of doing that. So I work from both sides there. And I also provide training to organisations on inclusive practice, as well as team building activities such as the Lego. You can find me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. There's a Facebook page, and also my website covers everything. It's got all the social media posts, upcoming events where you can learn more about the organisation, and that's opened.org.uk.
Fabulous. Well, it's been a great pleasure to have you on the programme today. And we hope that you can make a big difference to people's lives in education and those struggling, and especially with Lego therapy. That sounds amazing. So Helen Redman, thank you once again, Managing Director of OpenEd Ltd.
Thank you very much. Thanks. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Absolutely. And for those who are watching the programme, do subscribe and share. And we look forward to seeing you soon, our next guest. Take care. Bye-bye.